Hi, this is Cheryl from Sassy Cheryl Stamps, and today I'm going to show you how I color skin on a new image that's released in the store today. It's called May I Have the Stance. I'm going to show you how I color and what colors I use. I use burnt ochre, I use light flesh, I use light peach, cinnamon, and dark flesh, and white. Always got to have white. So to get started, I'm going to start with the burnt ochre, and I'm going to go lightly into where I think the shading would be as far as on the face where the sun is shining. So I'm going to go in lightly. I'm going to always use circles, only because circles are a lot easier to blend than straight strokes. And I'm thinking about the sun coming from the left, and it depends on how strong the sun is. I mean, there is no perfect option to this as far as coloring or shading. I usually go darker at the top and larger as far as wider on the shading at the top and thinner on the bottom. I usually leave the ear open just a little bit to kind of play with it, but I just lightly shade here. I'm going to do her neckline. And you can see how I use circular motions, not pushing too hard. Then I do each of her arms. It'll be darker on the bottom because the sun is coming from the left. And you can just play with this. You have to do what feels right to you. Just a little under her left arm, or right arm, around her thumb, because it'll be shaded there. It's in front of her, so there's not a lot of sun there. And her legs. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just think about where the sun is not hitting. But going lightly is always the best thing, because it's easier to add color than it is to take away. So you just have to play with it. So after I get the first part of the shading in, then I will come back in and I will do her cheeks most often. And I'm using the dark flesh for this, and I'm not pushing very hard. And you can have a piece of scrap paper to the side, and you can get that tip of your pencil a little bit more blunt, because you don't want to go real sharp on this because it's more permanent. You want it to be just very lightly. Then I'm going to come in with my light peach, and I'm just going to blend in the strokes. And I'm still not pushing very hard at this point. I'm just kind of blending those lines in to get them to where they need to be. I'm going to blend in her cheeks because it's going to all run together. And I'm thinking more of the shading on the right hand side, so it would be darker there. You have to have a little definition around her nose, but again, it's not perfect. We're not going for realism. We're going for fun. What makes you feel good. Just lightly blend the strokes out. And you can turn your pencil. You don't have to sharpen it all the time. You get a blunt edge, you can turn it to the right or the left. I mean, you can get the sharp point on it. And I'm constantly doing that. So you just blend until it feels good. Then I'm going to go back in with the burnt ochre. I'm going to do a little bit darker shading. And underneath her hair, she would definitely not get any sun there. And again, it's still light. You can always add more later. And if you're not using Gamsol with blending, it's a lot easier to erase with just pencils. You just have to play with what feels good or what looks good. Of course, you would get a lot less sun on this side of her arm because the sun is coming from the left. And underneath her sleeve once again. I'm going to shade a little bit. And the sleeve that you see on my hand, I can't remember where I ordered that from, but it is great for when you're drawing, because when you're coloring, a lot of times you get those little sleeve or slivers of pencil, and if you do brush away, they do make marks on your drawing. But most of the time when you use this sleeve, you do not get those. You just brush them away and it kind of picks it up off there. It's a great non-smudging sleeve for your hand. So I'm going back in with a light flash, and again I'm blending very easily. But a lot of people use Prismacolors instead of Faber-Castell pencils, which I love Faber-Castell pencils because they blend so well. But you can use light peach and peach. I'm not sure what the others are on the Prismacolors. I haven't used them for so long. But you just blend out the strokes. And we're still not going for perfection here, or even in the long run. You just have to blend until it looks the way you want it to look. You just keep blending until you get the result that you want. Where'd you start? It all takes practice. And most people that I know of, even on my design team, they print several at a time. And I do the same thing with color schemes. I will print several at a time, and I will color them and think if they want red shorts, blue shorts, tan shorts, so you can kind of get the feel for what you want to do. Now I'm going in with the dark flash, and I'm giving her cheeks more definition. And it's still not permanent at this point. But I'm going to use the white this time instead of a light flash, because white does blend, but it doesn't add color. Now, remember that if you do use white to blend, it will lighten it a little bit. So you have to use the pencil that you want as far as the effect that you want. And it's all trial and error. And at this point, I'm just blending. She's looking pretty good, but she's not down to the wire. You just have to remember that you can't compare yourself to anybody else. Art is an expression. It's all about fun, and it's what looks good to you and what you like as the end result. It's about having fun. It's about color, placement. And I'm just adding a little bit more shading here, because it would be a little bit darker on that side of her face. But you notice I'm not, even though it looks a little bit real, I'm not going for realism. I'm going for effectiveness, is what I would call it. It makes sense, let's put it that way. And I'm blending with the white. I'm going to add a little bit darker on her chin. And again, this image is called May I Have This Dance? I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.